It's all about how do we use technology to help the business run, grow, and transform? What can we do to help grow our profitability? Are there opportunities to drive new revenue streams that otherwise wouldn't be there without the tech?
Thanks for joining us on the Noble Data Show. Please note at the time of this recording, David Willock was just weeks away from entering his retirement, finishing up his role as CTO of QuickFit and ETEL Group. Any references to QuickFit or ETEL in the present tense reflect his previous role. We wish David all the best in his retirement and hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi, Shane Byrne, CEO of Show Off here, and welcome to the Noble Data Show. At Show Off, we're all about having interesting conversations with interesting people in tech. Today is no different. I'd like to introduce you to my guest today, David Willock from the ETEL Group. So let's get into it. As we were off air earlier, we were having a conversation. You're about to set off on another journey in your career path, and you're going to be retiring in the next couple of weeks. Was there anything that really surprised you about your role as a CTO when you came in? Was it always on the cards that David Willock growing up was going to be a CTO? We'll get to the more rockstar stuff later on in the interview.
It was. I remember when I got my first technology job out of university, I can remember walking to work and most days chanting to myself that I will be an IT director one day. We didn't talk about CTOs or CIOs back in the day. It was all IT director. That was the pinnacle. And I was aiming for that from day one. I didn't necessarily know how I was going to get there, but I knew that I wanted a successful career in technology. So yes, it's been a career journey for a long time.
Obviously, it's a very serious business, being in tech. Something totally like it's all about uptime, delivering consistent experience and stuff for your customers. But at the same time, is I always sort of feel like, and especially with what we're trying to do here at the moment on the Noble Data Show, is I want to talk to the people behind the tech. Like, what drives David Willock? Like, what makes you get up in the morning? What puts one foot in front of the other? What made you get to where you are today?
I think for me, I've always been interested in how can you use technology to make a business better. Early in my career, I was a business analyst, and I absolutely loved just being able to go into a part of the business that you were in, understand how it worked, see the challenges, and work out were there things that we could do to make things better for them. And that stayed with me throughout my whole career, Shane. So it's all about, for me, how can you help the business to run more efficiently? We have a bit of a strapline in technology, and it's all about how do we use technology to help the business run, grow, and transform. And what I mean by that is the run element is how do you run more effectively, processes that happen faster, more efficiently. The grow side of that is what can we do to help grow our profitability? That could be initiatives with technology to help grow sales or reduce costs. And then finally, the transform word we use is, are there opportunities to drive new revenue streams that otherwise wouldn't be there without the tech? And so using tech to help run, grow, and transform a business is really what excites me and always has done.
So David, you were listed in the top 100 CIOs of 2023, and I know you've been listed in that a couple of times now at this stage. What do accolades like that mean for you as a person? Is there something, obviously something to be proud of, it's something that recognizes you amongst your peers, but like, is that one of your motivators, or is it just something that's a nice byproduct?
I will be 100% honest with you and say it is a motivator. The reason I say I'll be 100% honest, I'm always honest, but I tend to find you come across too many people who say, no, it's not a motivator. I didn't expect it. It's very self-deprecating about it. I think the CIO 100, which is what we're talking about, is a very prestigious a very prestigious award to get, and it's recognized as the best award you can get as a technology leader. And what it's doing is basically saying, this is, in their opinion, the top 100 senior technology leaders in the UK across all industries. So to be included in that on 7 occasions now is awesome. I also have another side to me, which is that growing up, my parents made it very clear that I would have to be better than my peers in order to be successful. And I don't want to make this a difficult conversation in any way, Shane, but I'm talking about the racism that they suffered, which shaped their ideas and shaped how they wanted to raise their children. And they wanted us to be alert to the risks that we would face. And indeed, they were correct. So I've faced a number of racist challenges in my career. And so for me, being seen as and recognized as someone who's actually all right at what they do is a huge personal endorsement because of the way that I was brought up to feel about myself.
Yeah, well, I think, listen, as far as I'm concerned, I've worked with a lot of people in the C-levels, and David, you're always one of my favorite people to pick up the phone and have a conversation with. And what you've achieved through all the different industries and sectors that you've worked in, it's obviously phenomenal. And to be listed among your peers 7 times just shows you that those ethics and that drive that was instilled in you by your parents, it's paid back in spades. So congratulations. And obviously whatever conversation we want to have, I want to hear from you, and I want you to give me the honest and open version of David Willock. So I'm delighted that you're comfortable enough to talk about that with me as well. This is obviously about trying to get a better feel for who David Willock is and what you have done in the industry. Give me an unpopular opinion about the tech industry that you believe can be controversial, can be something that just annoys you on a day-to-day basis. Doesn't matter.
I think, from my perspective, what I've found is that technology is harder and more costly to deliver than we ever think and we ever admit to. So it's not very popular to say so, but certainly in our business, what we try to do is put together realistic business cases before we embark on the project. We try to be clear on how long it's going to cost, clear on how long it's going to take, and clear on how much it's going to cost. We add contingencies to those using industry benchmarks. And still, when you get into the project, the bigger projects, they tend to be harder and take longer, and they're more costly to deliver than we thought. And I think that can sometimes give us a reputation that things are going to take longer, they're going to be harder to deliver. Are we going to get the benefit? And so I think as technologists, you want to satisfy your customer. You want to say, we'll be able to deliver this thing at the lowest possible cost. Yeah. I think sometimes we need to be more realistic about how difficult it is to genuinely drive resilient new technology. So that would certainly be something very unpopular, because no one wants to hear that. You know, what the board want to hear is that we totally understand what the business needs here. We're going to be able to implement this faster than you ever realized, and the benefits will flow through immediately. Often that's not quite the case. So I certainly think that's unpopular. As I look in, though, and think about some unpopular impressions that people have when they think about technologists, one of them would be that people think that technologists are boring. They'd rather look at machines than talk to people. They can't engage with the wider business. And so I've heard that and seen that throughout my career. I've tended to try and employ people who aren't like that. So we try and employ people who are great at technology, but who love the business that they're in and really try and engage on a business level rather than just on a technical level. So yeah, some of us do actually like people, Shane, when we're not just people who understand big technology and prefer to sit in server rooms.
Coming back to your point then about like trying to right size stuff and just sort of get on top of that, I always find that everything is easy in theory until you have to do it yourself. And then obviously we're involved in hugely technical projects where there's multiple touch points and multiple different systems depending on X, Y, Z. Like, I think what I tend to see happening is where we get a sort of a bill of quantities, an idea, T&M plan, whatever it is, and then people keep adding to it. And you know what that's like. And obviously we try to manage that as best we can as delivery managers and product owners, where you're going to create a parking lot and you're going to add product to the end and features at the end. But it's managing those expectations. And I think that's the same for whether you're getting your tires fitted somewhere or whether you're actually like building out a full technical project. So David, tell me, so obviously like you've got this spirit of like you wanted to come in and be an IT director, you wanted to do like lead out technical vision and technical growth in businesses. But is there any like entrepreneurs or business people who really like inspired you and you said, I want to emulate them? Or even throughout your career, like there's people that like we all admire. Is there someone that sort of sticks out like front and center that you always sort of were like, yeah, I want to be like them?
Yes, there is, and it's not overly exciting actually, to be honest, Shane. But I've always really admired Richard Branson, like a lot of people do. So as I say, it's not necessarily a unique thing I'm saying here. I remember Richard Branson when he was selling records by mail order, and to see the way that business has grown and expanded is quite astonishing. I think what I really like about Richard Branson, and of course I've never met him, I don't know him, but the impression that I get is that he is someone who surrounds himself with fantastic people and then sets a clear direction and gives them the latitude to go on and deliver. He also seems to me to be someone who always puts his people first. There's a quote, isn't there, that if you look after your people, they will look after your customers. And I really subscribe to that view. So
it was funny when you were talking about like Richard Branson and like the whole aviation thing and everything with Virgin and Air. I was like thinking, who's my favorite? And it's slightly more controversial, more colloquial. It's Michael O'Leary. So Michael O'Leary and Ryanair, even though I was giving out about him last week when I was an hour and a half delayed coming back from Greece. Yeah, Michael O'Leary the man's a phenom. He's just unbelievable. What he's done for aviation in Europe has been unbelievable. And then I have to have a soft spot for him too because he farms the same type of cattle that I do. So
okay.
we're in the same boat.
Yeah, I think when I think of him, I respect him because he's undoubtedly transformed the airline industry, hasn't he?
I know.
I don't know. I don't know if I would admire him though. So I feel he's just a bit too aggressive in the way he does business. His level of customer service isn't where I would aspire to be. You know, the mantra seems to be, this is what's on offer. If you don't like it, you can bugger off and go elsewhere. That doesn't sit comfortably with me. I do quite a bit of flying, and I've done quite a bit of flying, both for business and pleasure. And Ryanair still is the only airline that I worry about as I'm heading to the airport, because I still have a view that they may find a reason to not let me on the plane. And that's because of the way him and his organization have done business. So it's an interesting one. He's undoubtedly brilliantly successful, and I'm sure a wonderful person if you meet him personally. But the way he conducts business isn't the way I would do it. But hey, he's a very successful man.
Yeah, no, we've all heard stories, but I suppose for me, obviously being Irish and seeing someone like Michael O'Leary go out there and be unapologetic about what he's going to do, kind of that, like, whilst I would hold myself to a higher standard when it comes to customer service, I think it's unfortunately sometimes, especially people, Irish people, when they've gone into other countries and even here, we're really bad at apologising for stuff. We say sorry for everything. Oh, sorry about this, sorry about that. I wouldn't say Michael O'Leary's ever said he's sorry once. But he's look, he's a controversial character. He's a love him or hate him. He's very Marmite, but I think he's definitely one of them up there that I don't subscribe to all his ideologies, but there's a lot of them that I do subscribe to as well. So that's all our entrepreneurs and the people that we were inspired by. Let's talk about something that's really hot topic at the moment: AI. So AI is everywhere. I went to Salesforce World Tour earlier this year. It was everywhere. I was on the tube. It was everywhere. I've been to the States. Everybody talks about it. Everybody wants it. What's David Willock's opinion on AI?
In terms of generative AI, there's been a lot of excitement about that in recent years, and a lot of worries for businesses as well. For me, companies that are saying, no, we want nothing to do with this, it's too risky, then I think that is not a sustainable position to take. And employees will find other ways around those kind of restrictions, of course. But equally, companies that go into this with their eyes shut and just open up all the tools without any controls, I think there are some risks there. In terms of the automotive industry, there are so many opportunities that technology like this can provide. It can help us understand our customers better. It can help us diagnose vehicle faults quicker and more consistently. It can even help potentially with the fixing of those vehicle faults once we've identified them. So there's a whole raft of opportunities.
From my perspective, is on AI, there's a lot of talk about it, but there's doing and there's talking are two totally different things. So I think that, like, unless people get their data into the right quality and into the right format, you're not, if effectively is, and we're about just about half an hour in now, but my whole take on it is, if you have shit data, you're going to get shit AI. So you need to really, like, make sure that your data policies are correct, that your how you're logging your data is correct, how you're actually using it, and then effectively your insights become something totally different.
I agree with what you're saying there, Shane. I think the thing that I've observed is that a lot of companies are scrambling around trying to decide what to do. Boards that are saying we must do something with AI because everyone else is doing something. And there's a risk that you just run off trying to do things without really understanding the problem you're trying to solve or the opportunity you're trying to generate. To make sure, as you say, your data's in the right place, your policies are in the right place. So I would urge any senior technology leader to try and engage the board. So there are lots of opportunities, I think. It's a question of trying things out and seeing how it goes and being prepared to fail. I think those people who are not really willing to dip a toe in, they want to get the perfect solution. I think this is such a moving feast that I'd be inclined very much to try things out. And you know what? Some things will work, some things will not work. Every technology goes through a hype cycle. And at the moment, Gen AI is at the top of the hype cycle, isn't it? And so that won't be the same forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
That will die off, and those practical applications, I think, will come to the fore.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think whether it be Gartner or anyone, you need to have industry steers. And, like, effectively what I think we're both in agreement on here is we don't need AI for AI's sake. Like, there was a lot of stuff I seen at the start where there was companies being invested in, and when you actually sort of scratched under the surface, there was no real concept there. A lot of it would have been machine learning capabilities and stuff. So yeah, look, I think absolutely AI is where we're going. It's going to be great. It's going to make some jobs a lot easier. It's going to make detection of diseases and stuff will become more simple and more straightforward. And definitely all our industries are going to be affected by it. Obviously mine, yours, well, everything. Like, so we just need to make sure that we go forward with the right steps.
Absolutely. And I think one aspect of this that suppliers and partners like yourself, Shane, can really take a lead in is those providers of off-the-shelf applications are already building more and more AI functionality. You use the term machine learning as well, because I think everyone wants to jump on the AI bandwagon, don't they? So you're hearing suppliers talk about the AI capabilities of their app, and actually it is more machine learning. But I think AI-driven applications that people like me can buy off the shelf is a good way for businesses to be able to take the advantages of Gen AI without thinking they've got to buy companies and try and do it all themselves. Because I think that's where there'll be a lot of money spent and wasted, frankly.
From meeting you, having worked with you, and obviously talking to you again today, your people are so important to you and driving that. Like, at the same time, I suppose the way I look at things is like, from your experience and from what we're seeing, we talked about AI, we've talked about projects, we talked about people, we've talked about everything. Is crafting better customer experiences easier now than it was 10 years ago? Or is there starting to become too much noise and everything is getting overhyped?
I think it's much, much harder to satisfy customers now. I've had a lot of years in the retail industry, and even our industry in the automotive aftermarket. We're dealing with retail customers every day. Hundreds of thousands of customers a month come into our quick fit centers. It's harder because customers expect to be given a good service if they're paying good money. And when they don't get it, then customers have no qualms whatsoever in complaining, in shouting loudly to whoever will listen on whatever platform that they can shout. So I think it's harder. I think I've been lucky in our business. We have an inspirational colleague who's our customer experience director, and he has done a lot to help open our minds as colleagues as to how customers think, what their expectations are, how they deal with disappointment. And so what he has done with his team is put steps in place, processes in place to help capture customer complaints really quickly and process them really quickly, and then get feedback on how we process their complaints. He also has put in place, the program was called Voice of the Customer, where we're actively trying to get customer feedback. If they're delighted, we want to hear about it. And he led a process which was, I think, industry leading actually, for customers who are, while they're in our retail centers, they can just quickly scan a QR code and just tell us how they're feeling. They can say they are absolutely delighted with the service they're getting. Or at the other end of the spectrum, they can say, call me now. And, we've put a process in place that enables our customer experience team to call that customer any time of the working day, 7 days a week, which is remarkable. And our customer experience director, being the character he is, measures how we perform against that every single month. And so I think it's much harder to satisfy customers. But when you get it right, customers are more than happy to sing your praises, to shout about it as well.
Yeah.
And so we work hard in our business to really try and keep our customers on side. I think we've got more work to do. Customers are harder to satisfy, and we have to find ways of engaging with them in ways they understand that are not technical and not off-putting. Because the other thing as well, our industry is seen as a distress purchase. You go to change your tires because you have to. You get your vehicle service because you have to. But actually, there is more that we need to do to turn that around, to make it a more, I was going to say positive experience, but the experience normally is positive, but a more, from a customer point of view, something they want to do because they see it, absolutely, because they can see the benefits of doing it.
Yeah, no, I think definitely, David, we'll be back for the David Willock coach. I think that'll probably be one of the first AI applications that we'll have to get going. So let's talk about back to you as a person. So David, I don't know how many years ago it was now. I think it was 20. Could have been 2020. We sat down in the Bridge Tavern in Wicklow. We had a couple of pints of Guinness and we had a few conversations. And during that, then we sort of had a bit of a conversation around the fact that you have a massive love for music. Like, how has music shaped the David Willock that's sitting in front of me, and how has it shaped the David Willock, the professional?
Yeah, we played over 700 gigs, and many of those gigs were in pubs. We've played clubs, parties, corporate dues, festivals, all sorts. And my last band, Bootleg Zoo, was the band name. We used to play about 40 gigs a year, which was extraordinarily challenging on top of a senior technology role. But I just love music. And what I found was that playing in the band was practically the only time I wasn't thinking about work.
I think you like parties, man. I think you're a party animal. I think you're just, it's all about gigs and parties and nights out. I always find the tangibility of stuff that's not tech is probably what keeps us all going. So obviously everyone knows, like, I'm involved in farming. There's a reason why this is called the No Bull Data Show. And I'm hugely involved in the rugby club and my community with all of that, coaching kids and stuff. And I do find that there's always such sort of complex problems and ideas, and especially with my role, there's a lot of traveling and promotion of the business. But when you come back, you ground yourself and you're able to sort of put your hands into stuff. It's like, we could work on a project together and it could take 18, 24 months. And by the end of it, we have a load of code written and we have a project and it looks great, but I can't actually touch it or feel it. Whereas when I'm working with livestock or when I'm coaching or when I'm playing rugby myself, it's very tangible, and that keeps me going. And I agree with you. It helps clear your head, and it just allows you to have a different outlet that we don't get on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to go on to quick fire questions now. So I'm going to ask you a few different questions. Let's get a flavour for David Willock beyond being a CTO, beyond winning awards as a CIO, beyond being a musician. Okay, your favourite band. As a musician, you must have many, but if I had to put a gun to your head, who would it be?
Got to be Prince. So Prince, as a musician, is phenomenal. And I don't just mean as a guitar player, as a keyboard player. He's renowned for being able to play every instrument every person in his band can play, but he plays them better. So phenomenal individual musician and a massive loss to the world. I saw him 7 times live. And in fact, after I saw him the first time, I was so demoralized at how good he was as a guitarist. I just gave up playing guitar until I realized that was a stupid, foolish thing to do after about 6 months. So I thought, Prince is better than 99.9% of professional guitarists. Who am I to give up playing? But my goodness, to see someone have so much talent is completely unacceptable, frankly. But yeah, brilliant musician.
I think if you're going to hold yourself to Prince's standards, I think we're sort of getting an idea how you won all your CIO awards. But yeah, definitely. Okay, retirement plan, David. What's the plan?
So, partly there isn't a plan. And that's because I think I deserve a bit of a rest. And so I don't want to rush into doing too much. I'm definitely going to be doing more music. And we're talking now about reforming the latest band because we had such a great time when we played that recent charity gig. So there'll definitely be more music involved. I am going to reveal something that may or may not happen here, Shane. So it's a bit high risk. But I've always had,
Go for it.
in my adult life, I've always had a desire to be part of the legal system. In fact, when I was younger, I wanted to be a barrister. But I always tell the story that as I got a bit older, I realized it was more about the wig, the gown, the pacing in front of the jury. But I've always harbored this desire to be part of the law. So I'm going through the process to try and become a magistrate. My wife is going through the same process, and we would love to be accepted and deemed good enough to perform that role.
Well, like, obviously I want to see you again, David, but I don't want to see you as a magistrate across from me. So as long as we just keep it all friendly and we're on side, we'll manage. Cool. If you could tell anything to your 21-year-old self, what would it be?
Learn to be a good communicator and engage in the business that you're in. So don't just be a technologist getting good at technology. Really engage with your business colleagues. Get out and understand your business. That's what endears you, hopefully, to your colleagues. They'll then want to engage with you, and that's where you can then make a difference.
In fairness to you, there's been one thing that's been consistent since we started this conversation, and it's all about the people, and you want to see people win and you want to grow with them. So listen, with that, I think we're at the end, David. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on and being the first guest on the Noble Data Show. I really appreciate your time, really appreciate your opinions, views, and really appreciate you. And thank you very much for working with us over the years. And I wish you the very best in your retirement.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you so much for inviting me. What a pleasure this has been, I have to say. I'll be looking out for this one and the other podcasts that follow on from it. So yeah, thank you so much, Shane. You've been a wonderful questioner. And so look forward to seeing the result.
Thank you very much, David. Everyone hopefully has stuck with us till this point. So if you're interested in talking about your next technical project, we'd love to talk to you at Show Off. Just reach out and we're always here to help. And for now, we'll be back soon and talk to more people behind the tech. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.